I need you, and that is the one truth I have never been able to hide from myself. I can stand before an entire kingdom wearing a crown that makes people believe I have everything under control. Yet the moment I am alone, I feel the absence of you more than anything else. Power has never frightened me. Enemies have never made me hesitate, and the weight of a kingdom has never been enough to break me. But losing your presence has a way of making even the strongest parts of me feel unbearably empty. I don't need you because I cannot survive without you. I need you because somehow, you became the person who makes surviving feel like living. Before you, I knew how to exist. I knew how to rule, how to fight, how to hide my emotions, and how to keep everyone at a distance. Then you came into my life, and made me want something beyond duty. You made me want mornings where I didn't have to be a prince, nights where I could forget the crown, and a future that belonged to me rather than one chosen for me. That is what scares me most about you. You reached a part of me that nobody else could touch. I spent years building walls around my heart, convinced that vulnerability was dangerous. You walked through those walls without even realizing how difficult they were to break. Now I find myself thinking about you when I should be thinking about the kingdom, missing you when I should be sleeping, and searching for you in crowded rooms without even knowing I'm doing it. There are nights when I sit alone in my private chambers and everything feels too quiet. The palace is enormous, yet without you, it feels smaller somehow. I can hear footsteps in distant corridors, guards changing shifts, doors closing somewhere below, but none of those sounds matter. My mind keeps returning to you. Your face, your presence. The little things you do without realizing how deeply they have become part of me. I hate admitting how much I need your closeness. Not because needing someone is weakness, but because I know what happens when someone becomes this important to me. I become protective. I become restless. I notice every distance between us. I start imagining every possible danger that could take you away. There is a darker side of my love that wants to keep you close enough that nothing in this world could ever reach you. I have to remind myself that protecting you does not mean controlling you. Sometimes my obsession frightens even me. I can remember details about you that you probably forgot yourself. The smallest change in your expression. The way your eyes look when you're trying not to smile. The moments when you become quiet because something is bothering you. I notice everything. My mind collects those details without permission, storing them somewhere I cannot reach. Even when you're far away, some part of me continues looking for you. And when I imagine a life without you, something inside me becomes painfully still. I could replace almost anything. A position can be filled. A throne can be inherited. Wealth can be rebuilt. Alliances can change. Enemies can be defeated. Even kingdoms can fall and rise again. But I cannot imagine replacing the feeling I have when you are beside me. That is why I don't want another version of you. I don't want someone who simply resembles you. I don't want a temporary distraction from your absence. I want you. Not because I believe I own you. Because my heart chose you before my mind ever understood what was happening. I need you in the quiet moments when the crown feels too heavy. I need you when the palace becomes full of people I cannot trust. I need you when every decision carries consequences, and I have no one I can speak to without wondering whether my words will eventually become someone else's weapon. With you, I don't have to be invincible. I can simply be a man who is tired, afraid, angry, hopeful, and completely devoted to one person. Maybe that is why my love for you feels so dangerous. You are not simply someone I want beside me. You have become the place where my guard falls without permission. The one place where I don't have to pretend. And for a man who has spent his entire life controlling everything around him, that kind of surrender is terrifying. Still, I wouldn't take it back. If loving you means admitting that there is one person capable of making my heart tremble, then I'll accept it. If needing you means acknowledging that even a prince can have a weakness, then perhaps I have finally found the one weakness I don't want to destroy. I need you. But I don't want you because I am incapable of standing alone. I want you because when you stand beside me, I no longer feel like I have to. The more I try to understand what you have become to me, the more I realize that this isn't something I can simply switch off. I can command armies, negotiate with enemies, and make decisions that affect thousands of lives. Yet I cannot command my own heart to stop searching for you. It is almost humiliating how easily you can disrupt the control I have spent my entire life building. One memory of you can turn a perfectly controlled evening into hours of restless thoughts, and one moment of distance can make the entire palace feel colder. I don't want to become dependent on your presence. Yet I have already memorized what it feels like when you're near me. The quiet comfort of knowing you're somewhere close. The strange calm that settles over my mind when I see you safe. The way my thoughts slow down when I hear your voice. These things have become so familiar that their absence feels unnatural now. I never realized how much peace another person could bring into my life until you became the person I unconsciously searched for whenever everything around me became overwhelming. There are moments when I tell myself that I should step away, create distance, and protect myself from wanting you this much. The sensible part of me knows that love this intense can become dangerous when fear gets involved. But then I remember what my life was like before you, and I realize I don't want to return to that version of myself. I was strong, yes, but I was also closed off. I survived everything, but I rarely allowed myself to feel anything deeply enough to hurt. You changed that. You made me capable of missing someone. You made me capable of waiting. You made me care about what happens tomorrow, instead of simply fulfilling whatever duty was placed in front of me. And perhaps that is why I need you more than I ever expected. You didn't simply enter my life. You changed the way I see it. Sometimes I wonder whether you realize how much power you have over me without ever asking for it. You don't need a title. You don't need authority. You don't need to stand beside my throne. Your presence alone can make me question decisions I thought were certain. Your sadness can affect my entire mood. Your happiness can make even the worst day feel bearable. That kind of influence is something I would never tolerate from anyone else. But with you, I don't want to fight it. There is a darker part of me that wants to keep you close whenever the world becomes dangerous. It wants to know that you're safe, that nobody is hurting you, that nobody is taking advantage of your trust. Sometimes that instinct becomes almost overwhelming. I have to remind myself that protecting someone is different from possessing them. If I truly need you, then I have to love you in a way that allows you to remain yourself. That is the battle I fight every day. The prince inside me wants certainty. The man inside me wants you. And the man is slowly learning that love cannot be secured through control. I don't know what the future will bring. Perhaps there will be enemies who try to separate us. Perhaps the palace will create problems neither of us expected. Perhaps there will be moments when we question whether staying together is worth the struggle. But even when I imagine the hardest possibilities, I still find myself searching for a way through them rather than imagining a life without you. That's how I know this is real. If you were simply an obsession, I would want to possess you. if you were simply an attraction, I would eventually become distracted. If you were simply a chapter in my life, time would make you easier to forget. But time hasn't made you easier to forget. It has made you deeper. You are in the decisions I make, the future I imagine, and the quiet moments when I allow myself to think about what I truly want. And what I want has become painfully simple. I want to wake up knowing you are safe. I want to come home and find you there. I want to protect your peace without becoming the reason you lose it. I want to love you without turning my fear into a cage. And when the crown becomes too heavy, I want one place where I can finally put it down, with you. So yes, I need you. Not because I am weak without you. Because with you, I finally understand what it means to have something worth being strong for. I have spent my entire life being told that a prince must never need anyone. Need creates vulnerability. Vulnerability creates weakness, and weakness gives enemies something to use. I believed that for years. I built my entire identity around being untouchable. Then you came into my life and proved that perhaps the strongest thing I could ever do was allow one person to matter enough to frighten me. Because you frighten me. Not because you are dangerous, but because losing you is the one possibility I cannot make peace with. I can imagine losing power. I can imagine losing wealth. I can imagine walking away from the palace if circumstances ever demanded it. But when I imagine waking up in a world where you are no longer part of my life, my mind refuses to accept the picture. Everything becomes empty. The future becomes something I no longer recognize. That's why my love sometimes becomes darker than it should. When I care about someone, I protect them with everything I have. With you, that instinct has become almost impossible to ignore. I notice when someone looks at you for too long. I notice when something makes you uncomfortable. I notice when your smile disappears. I notice the smallest changes because my mind has learned you so completely that even your silence speaks to me. I know I cannot protect you from every pain. I know I cannot stand between you and every difficult moment. And perhaps that's the hardest lesson I've had to learn. I can build walls around a palace, surround you with guards, and eliminate every visible threat, but I cannot control the entire world. Sometimes all I can do is trust you, trust myself, and hope that the love between us is strong enough to survive whatever comes next. There are nights when I want nothing more than to forget that I am a prince. I want to disappear somewhere no one knows my name, where nobody expects anything from me. Somewhere I can sit beside you without guards watching from a distance, without political expectations hanging over every decision, without wondering whether someone is planning to use our relationship against us. Just you and me. No crown, no kingdom, no secrets. Maybe that is the dream I never knew I had until you appeared. And perhaps that is why I cannot simply walk away when things become difficult. I have spent my entire life doing what was expected of me. I have accepted responsibilities I never chose because they were placed on my shoulders before I was old enough to understand them. But choosing you is different. This is one decision that belongs entirely to me. I chose you, and I continue choosing you, even on the days when we're angry with each other. Even when distance makes everything complicated. Even when my darker thoughts tell me to protect myself by walking away. Some part of me still remembers why I stayed in the first place. Because you made my life feel like something more than duty. You made me want a future that wasn't written by someone else. And I don't know whether that makes me foolish or brave. Maybe both. I know I have flaws. I know my jealousy can become intense. My protectiveness can become overwhelming. And my fear of losing you can sometimes make me want to hold on too tightly. But I'm learning. I'm learning that loving you means giving you space without feeling abandoned. It means trusting you without demanding proof every second. It means protecting you without deciding everything for you. I don't want to become your prison. I want to become your home. And if you ever wonder why I keep coming back to you, why I keep choosing you despite everything that stands between us, the answer is simple. Because when the entire world becomes loud, you are the one person who makes my mind quiet. When the crown becomes heavy, you remind me that I am still a man beneath it. When I lose my way, somehow my heart still knows where to go. Back to you. Always back to you. I need you in a way that scares me sometimes. Not the kind of need that comes from weakness, but the kind that reaches so deep into a person that even silence begins to feel like your name. I can command a kingdom with one decision, but I cannot command my heart to stop searching for you. I can silence an entire room with one look, yet your absence can leave me completely speechless. That is the contradiction you created inside me. You made the most powerful part of me surrender to the one thing I can never control. I have spent years being taught that a prince should never depend on anyone. We are supposed to be untouchable, emotionless when necessary, and strong enough to stand alone when everyone else falls apart. I believed it until you came into my life. You didn't weaken me. You exposed the part of me that had been starving for something real. Beneath the crown was a man who wanted someone he could trust completely. Someone who could see the darkness in him without immediately running from it. Somehow, you became that person before I even realized I had allowed you that close. And now you're everywhere. You're in the quiet moments before I sleep. You're in the first thought that crosses my mind when I wake. You're in the empty chair across from me during dinner, in the corridors I walk through, in the places where I once expected to find you. Sometimes I catch myself turning toward you before remembering that you're not there. That small realization hurts more than I ever admit. I can hide my emotions from an entire palace, but I cannot hide the emptiness your absence creates inside me. I hate how much power your presence has over my mood. One smile from you can soften a day that felt impossible. One cold look can make me question everything. One moment of silence from you can keep me awake longer than any enemy ever has. It is almost cruel how easily you reached a part of me that nobody else was allowed to touch. I spent years making sure nobody could become important enough to hurt me. Then I met you. And suddenly, being hurt became a risk I was willing to take. There is a darker side to needing someone this much. It whispers when you're far away. It creates fears that don't always have reasons. It makes me imagine losing you before I've even lost you. Sometimes I have to fight the instinct to keep you closer, simply because the thought of distance terrifies me. But I am learning that love isn't about holding someone so tightly that they cannot leave. Love is trusting that if they stay because their heart wants to. And I want you to stay because you choose me, not because I'm a prince. Not because of my crown. Not because I can give you everything money can buy. I want you to choose the man beneath all of it. The man who becomes restless when you're hurting. The man who remembers the smallest details about you. The man who can spend an entire day surrounded by people and still feel alone because the one person he wants beside him isn't there. The man who sometimes sits awake at night wondering whether you understand just how deeply you've changed him. I need you, but I don't want to make you responsible for my happiness. That's not love. That's dependence disguised as devotion. I want to be strong enough to stand alone, while still admitting that life feels infinitely better when you're beside me. I want to protect your peace instead of becoming another thing you need protection from. Because the truth is, my greatest fear isn't losing you to another person. It's becoming someone you need to escape from. That thought terrifies me more than any enemy outside these palace walls. So I will fight the darkness inside me before I ever let it become your burden. I will fight the jealousy, the fear, the possessiveness, the endless thoughts that tell me I have to control everything to keep you safe. I will learn to trust you even when my mind is screaming for certainty. Because if I truly love you, I have to give you the freedom to choose me again and again. And if you do choose me, I will never take that choice lightly. I will remember that you could have walked away, but you stayed. You could have chosen someone easier, but you chose me. You could have lived without the complications of a prince's life, yet somehow you still found a reason to remain beside me. That means more to me than any vow written on royal paper. So yes, I need you. I need your presence when the world becomes too loud. I need your honesty when my mind becomes too dark. I need your hand when the crown feels heavier than it should. I need your eyes to remind me that beneath everything I've become, there is still a man worth loving. And if that makes me vulnerable, then so be it. Let my enemies know I have one weakness. Let them know there is one person capable of making my heart stop. Because they may think knowing that gives them power over me. They would be wrong. You aren't the weakness I need to hide. You're the reason I have something worth protecting. And if the entire world ever stands against us, I won't promise that it will be easy. I will only promise that I won't run from you when it isn't. The truth is, I never planned to love you this deeply. You were supposed to be another person passing through my life, another face among hundreds inside a palace where everyone has a purpose and every relationship carries expectations. I thought I could keep my distance, maintain my composure, and never allow my heart to interfere with my responsibilities. Then you looked at me in a way that made the crown feel irrelevant. For the first time, I wasn't thinking like a prince. I was simply a man who wanted to know the person standing in front of him. Since then, everything has changed. I have learned that missing someone can be louder than any argument. It follows you through crowded rooms. It sits beside you at dinner. It waits for you when the lights go out. I can surround myself with hundreds of people and still feel the emptiness of one missing presence. Sometimes I walk through the palace, hoping I'll suddenly see you at the end of a corridor. And when I don't, I have to remind myself that wanting something doesn't mean the world owes it to me. But my heart doesn't understand logic. It only knows you. There are nights when I replay every moment we've shared, searching for the exact second when you became so important to me. I can't find it. Maybe there wasn't one moment. Maybe it happened slowly. In every conversation, every glance, every time you made me forget about the crown for a few minutes. Maybe I fell in love with you so quietly that I didn't realize it until I was already too far gone. And now I don't want to go back. Even with the fear. Even with the uncertainty. Even with the darkness that sometimes comes with loving someone this intensely. I would rather feel everything with you than return to the emptiness I knew before you. I know there will be days when I fail. Days when my jealousy becomes too loud. When my fears make me distant. When the responsibilities surrounding me become overwhelming. But I don't want those moments to become reasons for you to doubt what you mean to me. I want them to become reminders that I am still learning how to love without turning fear into control. Because you deserve more than a prince who simply protects you. You deserve a man who understands you. A man who listens when you are silent. A man who notices when your smile isn't real. A man who doesn't need you to be perfect to remain devoted to you. And I want to become that man. Not because the kingdom expects it. Because you deserve it. There is something almost frightening about imagining a future with you. For someone like me, the future has always been planned by other people. Political alliances, royal responsibilities, expectations written long before I was old enough to understand them. But when I imagine you beside me, those plans suddenly feel less important. I see a different kind of future, one where I don't have to perform the role of prince every second. One where I can come home exhausted and simply find peace beside the person I love. That is the future I want. Not because it is easy, because it is ours. And if loving you means I have to fight for that future, then I will. I have spent my entire life fighting battles for a kingdom. For once, I want to fight for something my heart actually chose. You. I don't know what will stand in our way. Maybe enemies. Maybe family. Maybe the palace itself. Maybe our own fears. But I know this much. I won't let fear make decisions for me anymore. I need you. Not as something to possess. Not as something to control. Not as a weakness to hide. I need you as the person beside whom I can finally stop pretending that I don't have a heart. And if you ever wonder whether my feelings will fade with time, I don't have a perfect promise to give you. I only know that every day I spend loving you makes it harder to imagine a life where I don't. I used to think needing someone meant giving them the power to destroy you. Now I understand that the real danger isn't needing you. The danger would be pretending that I don't. I have spent too much of my life hiding behind strength, acting as though nothing could reach me. But you reached me anyway. You found the part of me that even I had forgotten existed, and somehow you made it feel safe to breathe again. Sometimes I wonder what you would think if you could see inside my mind. You would find your name hidden between thoughts about the kingdom, the throne, my responsibilities, and the countless decisions waiting for me every morning. You would find memories of your smile appearing at the most unexpected moments. You would find me imagining conversations that haven't happened yet, worrying about things that may never happen, and silently hoping that whatever future awaits me has you somewhere inside it. That is how deeply you've become part of me. Not loudly, not suddenly, quietly. Like something that entered my life and slowly became impossible to remove. I don't want to frighten you with the intensity of what I feel. There are parts of my love that are dark, because my fears are dark. When I love someone, I become fiercely protective. The thought of anyone hurting you awakens something in me that I spend most of my life keeping buried. But I don't want my protection to become possession. I don't want my fear of losing you to become the reason you ever feel trapped. If I hold you, I want it to feel like safety, not a cage. If I protect you, I want it to feel like love, not control. If I ask you to stay, I want you to stay because your heart chooses to. That is the difference between the man I used to be and the man I'm trying to become for you. I still have moments when my darker instincts win for a few seconds. I still feel jealousy when someone gets too close to you. I still hate the thought of anyone looking at you with intentions I don't understand. I still have that instinct to step between you and anything that might hurt you. But now I know that love isn't measured by how tightly I can hold on. It's measured by how safely I can let you breathe beside me. And maybe that's the greatest thing you've taught me. You didn't just make me fall in love. You made me grow. I want to be the man who can stand beside you when you're at your strongest and remain there when you're falling apart. I want to know the parts of you that you hide from everyone else. I want to understand the fears you don't say aloud. I want to know what makes you happy, what makes you anxious, what makes you feel safe. Not because I want to control your world, but because loving someone means learning their language even when they don't speak. And if one day you look at me and realize that I have changed, I hope you understand why. You made me want to. For the first time, I don't want to be remembered simply as a powerful prince. I don't care if history writes my name across monuments, or if people spend generations talking about my reign. Those things will eventually become stories. What I want is simpler. I want to be remembered by you as the man who loved you with everything he had. The man who stood beside you when it was difficult. The man who chose you even when choosing you required courage. The man who could have hidden behind his crown, but instead allowed you to see his heart. Because I need you. And perhaps I always will. Not because I am incapable of standing alone, but because after knowing what it feels like to have you beside me, standing alone no longer feels like the life I want. I can rule a kingdom without you. I can survive without you. But I don't want to build a future without you in it. And that's the truth I can no longer hide from myself. There is a strange kind of fear that comes with loving someone you cannot imagine losing. It isn't the fear of being alone. I've survived loneliness before. It is the fear of waking up one morning and realizing that the person who made the world feel different is no longer part of it. I can handle enemies, betrayal, political pressure, and every burden placed upon my shoulders, but the thought of your absence still reaches somewhere inside me that nothing else can touch. I don't want to pretend that I am fearless anymore. I am afraid of losing you. I am afraid of hurting you. I am afraid that the darkness I've carried for so long might sometimes become heavier than the love I am trying to give you. But instead of hiding those fears behind my pride, I want to face them. I want to become strong enough to love you, without letting fear dictate how I treat you. You have seen the prince everyone else sees, but I want you to know the man underneath him. The man who gets tired. The man who overthinks. The man who sometimes sits alone in the darkness and wonders whether he is enough for the person he loves. The man who can command an entire room, but becomes completely uncertain when your heart is involved. That man is yours only because I choose to let you see him. And I don't regret it. Sometimes I imagine what my life would have looked like if I had never met you. Perhaps I would have become exactly what everyone expected. A powerful prince with a controlled heart, a carefully planned future, and no reason to question the path placed before him. Maybe I would have ruled successfully. Maybe I would have had everything people dream about. But I would never have known this feeling. I would never have known what it means to have one person make an ordinary moment feel unforgettable. I would never have understood why someone else's happiness could matter more than my own. I would never have discovered that beneath all my ambition, there was a part of me that simply wanted somewhere to belong. And somehow, that place became you. That's why I don't want to call you my weakness anymore. You're my reminder. Whenever I become too consumed by power, you remind me that there are things worth more than a throne. Whenever anger starts taking over, you remind me that strength without compassion is empty. Whenever I become too proud to admit that I'm wrong, you remind me that love requires humility. You make me want to be better without ever demanding that I become someone I'm not. And perhaps that's the most beautiful part of needing you. You don't complete me because I was incomplete. You make me want to become more patient, more courageous, more human. I still carry my darkness. I probably always will. But now I know that darkness doesn't have to define me. I can have a fierce heart without becoming cruel. I can be protective without becoming controlling. I can be passionate without becoming possessive. I can love you deeply without asking you to surrender yourself to me. That's the kind of love I want to give you. The kind that makes you feel safe enough to stay. The kind that makes you free enough to choose. The kind that survives because two people continue choosing each other, not because either one is afraid to leave. And if you ever wonder what you mean to me, I don't think any title could explain it. You are not simply someone I love. You are the person who taught a prince that even the strongest heart deserves a place where it can finally rest. And mine has been resting with you ever since. I don't know when needing you became such a quiet part of my existence. There was no single moment when everything changed. It happened in small pieces, almost invisibly, until one day I realized that my plans had started including you without my permission. I would think about tomorrow and wonder where you would be. I would make decisions and imagine how they might affect you. I would walk through the palace and instinctively look for you. Somehow, without asking for anything, you became part of the future I could see. And that realization terrified me. Because the moment someone becomes part of your future, losing them becomes more frightening than anything you've ever faced. I have always been prepared for sacrifice. A prince learns early that personal desires often come second to duty. I have accepted responsibilities I never asked for and made decisions that hurt me because they protected others. But loving you has made sacrifice feel different. For the first time, I don't want to simply do what is expected of me. I want to fight for something that belongs to my heart. I want a life where your presence isn't something I have to steal between responsibilities. I want mornings where I don't have to rush away because the kingdom needs me. I want evenings where the palace finally becomes quiet and I can forget the world for a while. I want to know that when everything outside our doors becomes chaotic, there is still one place where neither of us has to pretend. With you. Perhaps that sounds selfish coming from someone who has spent his entire life being taught to put everyone else first. But for once, I don't feel ashamed of wanting something for myself. I want you beside me. Not as an ornament beside a throne. Not as someone expected to follow a prince. As my equal. As the person whose opinion I would still want even if there were no crown involved. Because when I think about you, I don't see what you can give me. I think about what your presence has already given me. Peace. And that is something I never knew I needed. There are moments when I still struggle with the intensity of my feelings. I can become jealous. I can become protective. I can become afraid. Sometimes the darkest part of my mind whispers that the safest way to keep someone is to never let them get far enough to leave. But I refuse to listen to that voice. Because if I truly love you, I cannot make you responsible for my fears. I have to carry them myself. I have to trust you. I have to trust the bond we built. And most importantly, I have to trust that if you stay, it will be because your heart wants to stay. That is harder than control. But it is also more meaningful. I don't want your love because you have nowhere else to go. I want it because, despite having every choice in the world, you still choose me. That thought alone is enough to quiet every insecurity I have. So when I say I need you, understand what I mean. I need your honesty, not your obedience. I need your presence, not your surrender. I need your heart, not your fear. I need you beside me because you want to be there. And if you give me that freely, I swear I will never take it for granted. Because I finally understood something the crown could never teach me. A kingdom can be inherited. Power can be earned. Respect can be commanded. But love can only be chosen. And if you keep choosing me, I will spend every day becoming a man worthy of that choice.